Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host, Darran. Right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios on a not so sunny day here in Seattle, Washington, but that's typical for the norm. And you know what? Coming in halfway around the world, we have none other than Martin Eyerer from Riverside Studios in the virtual studios today. Martin, how's it going?
Absolutely great. I'm happy to be back here in your show. It's been a while since we talked, so it's good to see you, man.
It has been. It's been almost about a year. I mean,
Oh,
wow,
wow.
lot has happened on both ends over the course of the last year. Super excited to talk about what you have going on over there at Riverside, next to the river. I love that river. I can't wait to get back over there. What a wonderful time! And thank you so much for having the DJ sessions there at Rave the Planet last year. It was a phenomenal time, a lifetime experience. I can't stop talking about it. It was just really, really awesome. And Berlin is such a beautiful city. My first time being there and just getting on a scooter and driving around, riding around, scooting around and going to the Brandenburg Gate and seeing everything was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I love the city. I have to say, I'm not born here. I'm born in Munich and raised in Stuttgart, South Germany. I'm here since 13 years, and it's definitely one of my favorite cities around the whole globe. I have to say that.
You know, just an inkling while I was there visiting is that a spark. I tell everyone I like a spark, a sprinkle of dust. I don't magic awesome music, fairy dust popped in my head and just wanted me. I was like, I want to move here. You know, it just felt so awesome, so friendly, so amazing, so much culture, even for the short amount of time I was there. I do have to ask a question. I was going to ask you this later in the show, but since we're talking about Berlin, I'm just going to jump right in. And before we get to the interview, is
I mean, why not talking about Berlin? It's
what's
fine.
that?
Why not talking about
Yeah,
Berlin?
no. I was
I'm
going to
always
say
happy. I have
what
a
I went to a
podcast
lot.
about Berlin.
I'm a foodie, and I went to a
Mm.
lot of amazing restaurants there. But what's your favorite restaurant to go to in Berlin?
That's a simple answer. It's called Grill Royale, and they serve, as it says, steaks. And it's not only they have the best steaks in the world; they have great steaks. It's a bit fancy, I have to say, but there's like also this kind of community there. When you go, you really not in the fancy part. You're more like in the kind of community part. If you like in their family, let's say, and you meet a lot of people. And so the combination of the location on the water and it's actually it's Friedrichshain. No, it's Mitte. Not sure. That's exactly the border. And combined with the people, they come like frequently, returning clients, and the food. This is my favorite spot. But there's a lot spots. I really Berlin was not good in food 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They said in Germany, lowest rate of Michelin star restaurants and chefs and stuff. But in the past 15 years, I think I just lately read it's number one in whole Germany with the density of Guide Michelin star restaurants, which is not the only way we want to eat, but that showcases how much the food scene developed and what's going on there. The classic is, of course, the currywurst, which is a sausage that
Currywurst.
did you eat one when you were
No,
there?
I didn't eat a curry. I didn't get a chance to.
Really? No way, man. Darren, what's up? Berlin's famous for that, right?
Well,
This is, this
I
is
went to the Korean barbecue down the street from Riverside because I was staying at the N
angry
How.
chicken. It's called angry chicken. Yeah, of
Angry
course.
chicken. Okay.
It's famous. It's Korean. Yeah, it's really good. But Berlin is really known for this kind of sausage that you call currywurst. Curry is the Indian spice, right? We know that the yellow powder, and they take the sausage, they cut it in small slices, like I don't know, 7, 8 slices, and then they cover it completely with ketchup, and they put it on the curry, and they serve it with fries. And there is a whole religion about that from old Berliners, which like for real, which is the best curry here, curry sausage in Berlin. The other big part, which is famous, is doner kebab. Why that? Because Berlin has the biggest, largest community of Turkish people outside Turkey. Because a lot of Turkish people moved here after the war to help build up the country, and especially in Berlin, there was the largest community in Kreuzberg, and they brought the kebab with them. So you can eat if you like street food. You can eat some of the best kebabs and the currywurst.
I did see some of the kebab places. I remember seeing some of those.
They're
And
all
yeah,
over.
I couldn't eat too much food because I get too full. But I did go to a
Yeah,
really
also.
awesome steakhouse. Um, there's I would call it your shopping district or your shopping mall area.
Yeah.
It was at
There's
the
a few.
base of the shopping mall area, and it must have been that everyone was on holiday right after Rave the Planet because there was nobody out. It was I was amazed of having like, I don't know how many people were there last year, 250, 350,000 people, but there was nobody out and about. And I walked into this restaurant, and there was only like 5, 6 people in the place. And they walked up, got me my selection of meat. I mean, totally gave me history on it, sat me down. I mean, it was a phenomenal meal. But I want to go to the steakhouse, this place you're talking about, next time I'm there. And
Yeah,
also try curry and kebabs.
yeah, you got that. You got to do that.
Awesome. Well, enough
But
about
there's
food.
but to finish that topic, it was the second city in the world, and I think first one San Francisco, maybe not sure, New York,
Okay.
with a few pure vegan restaurants. So there's also it shows that there's a big scene of everything. Yeah, you can really eat if you veggie or vegan. You can eat great. There's even two restaurants with a star, and they're pure vegan. So there is great variety of food in Berlin if you're looking for that one.
Yeah, I was trying to even just find some off the wall back in German foods that I wouldn't get in the States. And I don't even know what the dish was. I just kind of looked at the menu and pointed, and they said,
Yeah.
okay, here you go. And I
You
was like,
didn't ask me, so next time you ask me, and
okay, I'll do
I bring you
that.
some.
So enough about food. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
check.
Riverside developments and everything you got going on. I'm interested to find out about this creative technology hub that you just opened up under the Riverside umbrella. I mean, it sounds like more. And oh, by the way, phenomenal studios, phenomenal location. Again, once again, completely blown away by coming and visiting the studios there and seeing what was going on. Again, your team is top notch, awesome. I mean, I kind of felt a little bit like royalty walking in there a little bit. Like just the customer service was awesome. The amount of talent you have going on, blown away, and not the fact that it's actually next to a river, but I mean,
Yeah,
hence the
you
name.
see it in the background of my
Yeah, no,
window,
I
right?
know. I
Maybe
mean,
you
that
don't see
just
it; it's a bit far from here now, but yeah,
it was just really phenomenal. I could feel the magic and the energy being in that place. And I know there's people that come there that you can't talk about that are coming there to do stuff. I just found out is I think is Darren Epsilon still out of there?
not as a resident,
Oh,
but
okay.
from time to time he's coming
Okay,
by.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I just
maybe I for those of you who don't know Riverside Studios, maybe I quickly talk
yeah,
about
go
the
for it.
concept, what we do, right? Because we I have 27 music studios, but the concept is
27.
not what the concept is not that we have daily rental basis. We have two of them where we do that, the big ones. Next one of this one with the water view. That's the only studio you really can book for bigger artists who want like the stuff that you expect, huge console, everything, yeah, and the water view and everything. But our concept, other than that, is we have the studios, we give them to people who rent them long term, and they do what they do there, and we curate, of course, our factors. Do we like them? We also want to have a solid number of female producers, so we have a really cool mix of people, also showcasing some diversity also in music fields. So we have people who are composers, film people, scoring. We have the people who do more recording stuff. We have mastering, mixing engineers. We have like this huge variety of all kind through across the board genres and people of services they do, and they work in their rooms. Whatever they do with their clients, they get from us the infrastructure and the community and some services, but also then the add-on network. And that's the other part that we have some event locations, so there is masterclasses with partners. We have collaboration partnership with the New York University, the Clive Davis Institute since 8 years. We have the GEMA, which is the Rights Association in Germany. They have a studio here. We have the music tech industry who do frequently events with us, with our community. So there's a lot of stuff that we do with the community of the people. We are around, I think, 65 or 70 people here. So some rooms are shared by people because some of them are on tour while the others in the studio. So there's more or less the concept here. And we grew in the last, we have 13 years Riverside Studios just. So we started in 2012. So we grew the concept more and more out. We are in a big complex here, and we don't own the whole complex, but we grew in the complex, into the complex. We have 3,000 square meters, and we opened up to industry that is close to music. And our latest baby, and that's what you were mentioning, is that in the third and fourth floor, we are just opening a curated co-working and creative technology hub, which is focusing on the technology side of everything around creativity, which is of course music, but then we talk about film, we talk about gaming, we talk about technologies like Web 3.0, motion capture design, stuff like that, AI in music. So we want to provide and bring people together who are in startups that have um, interfaces to the music and creative fields that we're speaking about. But then we want to give mutual access and the industry. So we're talking with Konstantin Film from Munich to work here with us. They have a big creator section, which is about streaming and stuff like that. So we provide this curated co-working space with facilities for streaming, for production, green screen room, and we do programming with events around that. So that's what we just opened, and this creative technology hub has around 600 square meters right now. With the potential we can grow next year by demand up to the double size, and we're receiving a lot of feedback right now. First members moving in, so I think we tapped into the right thing. Because last sentence on that, what I'm doing with Neuland, we speak later about that, is technology around other fields from all the startup sectors. And I figured, why is no one doing that, actually targeting creative technologies? That's why we're doing it.
I combine all of what you just said there, the 27 studios, the expansion, everything. That's exactly the magic I felt from Riverside Studios. That it was to me, a magical place or a hub. But as a creative or being in the industry and working with a lot of people, I probably can't tell people enough in the industry, whether they're brand new that I talk to or just, kind of talking in passing, about the energy I felt when I was at Riverside Studios. I mean, I don't know how it was. To me, it was a magical experience to see what you have going on there. I would recommend anyone. I mean, I don't know if there's a bar or what you look at or if there's a waiting list to get studio space in there. It sounds like there probably is, but to collaborate or to be a part of something like that or see something like that else pop up in other places. But I don't know if there's anything like that around the world,
No,
like
I
what I
don't
saw when
think
I was
so.
there.
I don't think so. And how did we get there? Is in the beginning, my two friends and partners and I just simply wanted to build 3 studios for ourselves. We didn't have a business plan or anything on mind, just needed space. So after a very intense search, I found this space here with access and view on the river, which is really well located in Kreuzberg. You can see on the other side the famous East Side Gallery, which is one of the spots in Berlin, which is the formerly border between the east and the west part. And we had to really construct like crazy. Like in the beginning, my partner said, "You're totally out of your minds that we want to do that." Okay, but I was driven by having the studios here, and there was so much demand. We know everyone knows us. They asked us, "Hey, do you have more space?" And so we just grew, and we didn't have a business case. We just thought it would be cool to be surrounded by people we like, and that is actually still today one of the curation factors. And we developed the business out of something we didn't do for business, and that's why I'm saying it. I I don't know any other project that's really like what we do, because if we would have written a business plan first place, we wouldn't have not have done it, because it's not like the biggest money cash cow. We make some money, it's fine, but we had to really look for this business case by developing it on the time. And I think that is the big difference of other, yeah, like maybe similar projects, that we were driven by a different reason. We wanted to build a community, and we achieved that, and we still till today, I have my partners, we curate really who we want to have in that community, and that is the key for everything.
Mhm. I rarely ever get asked it. This question's in my repertoire, in my questions, and so I rarely get or ever ask it. It's not a huge momentous question, but figuring since you built studios from the ground up and created Riverside Studios, I got to ask you this question. If you could advise up and coming producers on monitor speakers, which ones would you recommend?
That's a super specific question. That's the same question like, what's your favorite restaurant? Because you know, it depends on so many factors. First is, what's your budget? That's the most important, right? And I remember when I didn't have a lot of budget back in the days, I had this pair of KRK I don't even know how what they called rocket. I think yeah, they were like this. They had this pyramid form, and they were really budget monitors, but they were really good because I got used to the sound. I liked how they sounded. It gave me a good feeling. So of course, the more budget you have, the higher you can go um, and um, and take the upper part of the shelf and all of that. So that is the most important question. And the second point is about the room, because the monitors themselves are only 30% of the story without the acoustics around you. So there is a lot to say and to research about what is a treatment, a minimum treatment that you can do without big budgets for your favorite monitors. I think it doesn't need to be always the most expensive monitors. The trick is really you get used to how your system sounds, and you have to learn that. It is a process. It takes some time. There is great tools that can help you on the software side, like Sound ID, for instance, which I'm also using because still in this room, which you see, there's some stuff that you can't fix on 100% level. So you can use the software that helps you really getting close to a more like neutral listening position. And this, I don't know, it's a couple of $100, not that crazy hundreds, two, three, $400, I guess. Not sure now. That's a good investment in combination with the monitors that you basically, when you listen first, that you like them, because that is the most you have to have fun by listening to these monitors. And I can tell you what my favorite monitors were. I had, we have other ones now, but my favorite ones were from Dynaudio, the Air system, and I had the Air 20 system, which I absolutely loved, and I had it for, I don't know, 20 years maybe. And here in this room, I'm sharing this room with my partner, my business partner Albert, because I'm not every day anymore in music. I'm doing also other businesses, so it was okay for me to downsize my studio and have like a cool, sexy mobile, not really mobile, but setup, reduced actually. Coming from this huge studio, I had all the synths, all the gear, all the outboard, all the microphones, all the guitars, to a setup which is like a kick-ass Mac computer, huge screen, and one synthesizer only, which is Innovation Peak because I love it. There's one microphone, you see it here, and there is this audio monitors where we had to find like compromise between all of us, which we like, and they're from Adam Audio, the big series, and they do also the job. They're really really good.
Nice. Yeah, I knew that kind of was falling into a little bit of the favorite restaurant question, but I've never got to ask that of anyone. They're typically not in their studio when they're doing this. So thank
It,
you for that insight. That little tip of knowing the sound software to design your studio and dial it in was very helpful. Hopefully that helps some other people out there to dial in their studio
Yeah,
sound.
the most important thing is it's not always about the most expensive in the budget. You know, you can do so much stuff today with low budgets and get like the best out of your gear. And I know how it is when you're starting, because you asked me that question more about younger people or maybe not so experienced. They can be even older. That it's not really, oh wow, I need to have the craziest budget in the world. It's really more how you treat the sound, what you do with it, how you learn, train your ears on your monitor system, your studio situation. That's actually the key.
Absolutely. And I've had a lot of people in the podcasting television. Well, I went from broadcast television to podcasting to live streaming. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to buy all this expensive gear and my podcast is going to be awesome. And I'm going to have a bunch of viewers because I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on gear. And I'm like, why don't you can start out with your telephone. If you want to start out with an audio podcast, just record yourself, or, if you're just talking about your own stuff. But if you want to interview people, there are tools out there. I mean, Zoom, you could use Zoom. You could use tools like Restream just to start out. But a $50 ring light can make the difference from this to this. I don't know if anyone
Oh,
saw this.
you know what? I have this light too, but it's off, so maybe I should switch it on.
Well, we
You
lost
see,
some
I'm
of
a
your
sound guy, not a video guy like
we
you.
lost some of your light in the background there, but that's all good. You're coming in great. But I mean, just little things like, even if you want to step it up and get a microphone or a lapel mic, you don't have to get a big investment into stuff to at least start producing. Oh, thanks, Martin. Oh, wow, yeah, that brought in some additional light there.
Is that
Awesome.
does it exactly what you wanted?
That works.
It's
And it
not
does.
it's
You
not
don't have to
looking so
go.
cozy, but sorry to interrupt you, Darren. This is
No.
maybe really important. I mentioned Sound ID, and the software is called Sound ID Reference, and that basically is a software system that um, calculates. You can have a microphone with them, and then you check the sound, and it measures your room and tries to zero all the frequencies that are not in line in your room, and that compensates really a lot of when it comes to monitors. So that's really my advice. Check that out. Sound ID reference for those who don't know it.
And that wasn't a paid for plug, by the way.
Absolutely no, not. I'm not sponsored by anyone.
Nice.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that yes, we are looking for sponsors always. So let's get back to talking a little bit about this creative technology hub and what that all entails. I know there's a lot that you dropped about the studios and the upbringing and the size and everything about that. What this creative technology hub, what does that mean for Riverside as a whole?
I mean, it means a natural. Not, it's not an extension. I see it even as a step further in how we develop the whole business. I was always driven by connection to new technologies because I'm very always interested in next technologies. Yeah, that we can discuss a whole show about AI in music production, creative production
How
for
did you know what
sure.
I was coming up with
And
next?
I did all these talks already, but there's always a good and there's a pro and a con side, and I at least want to always tap into it, experience it, and judge by myself what is it about and where can be the next thing. How does my business where does it go? What are the skills that I really need to learn? This is very important because a totally different example when you learn now to develop software and learn coding language. I'm not sure if it's the smartest move, except you're really interested in that because you can do everything with AI in the meanwhile. So you need to be more able to build products and not type in the code, which means you're not replaced, but your skill is a different one. That's the same with music for sure. Yeah, if we have seen like when I started music, and that was in the 90s, actually end of the 80s, you would really need to have a clue in electrophysics because if you didn't understand that, you could just simply not create sound. And even 10 years later after that, or 15, you don't need to have any clue about that because software actually replaces that knowledge. And you needed to be have more skills in the mixing skills and others. And today, this even changed again dramatically because software and AI helps you in that. But it shifted also the like your skill set and the way how you can become successful, because today you definitely need to be an expert in marketing, in social media, and streaming and all this kind of stuff, because if you're not good in getting like outreach, you cannot sell your product or make it available for people. And that's why, coming back to AI and all these kind of things, it is very important to think further also for our business. What does it mean to Riverside Studios? But on the other hand, what are the opportunities that we create for the people that are in our network? And especially when it comes to connecting the industry, the startups, to creative people, I believe heavily in the intersection of these fields, that this is something that helps us also to find our business cases and find how we can make our living, because that's actually the thing, right? If you want to make your living, where does the money come from? And it's more and more like, yeah, shifting into somewhere. And that is actually why we came up with this creative technology hub, and wanted to provide access at least to people who are in new fields. And sometimes it helps, gives you triggers, gives impulses for everything you do, and shifts Riverside into maybe the next phase.
Yeah, that's one of the awesome things that seeing the growth and development of that, seeing the need for that is huge. I've been in the industry for so many years, and watching people say, "Oh, I just want to be an actor, or I just want to be a cameraman, or I just want to be a lighting designer," and they got kind of pigeonholed into those fields, or they were stuck in those fields, and they didn't expand where to understand maybe those are what are called blue collar or blue line jobs. They didn't get into the management of things. So when they wanted to go do their own projects, they were highly technically capable of doing what they wanted to do, but they weren't informed business wise. Is that something else that the creative studio will help to help educate people a little bit more on? I know it's creative technology, but is there also a business development portion that goes with that as
I
well?
mean, we shouldn't forget, we as Riverside Studios, we are actually a professional environment, right? We have partners providing as their business, like Lab 343,
Okay.
classes, and all of that. And we have these collaborations. So the first thing why we did that is not just to educate people. That's not 100% our mission, even though we support this kind of mission as much as we can. But we want to provide for the professionals that work with us everything that they can experience and judge and decide also what they not want to do. Yeah, impossible. I mean, still people are photographing with analog cameras, and some of them are successful with that because it's exactly their case, and they have clients who actually want that. I personally believe people might want to have a certain demand on AI free content, music whatsoever, if it's labeled. So that's a different thing. At least you need to, and that's what I said before, by yourself, check out, try out things to judge and to decide where
Hmm.
do I want to go and what exactly is my business case, because other than I'm totally off market maybe, and this is something we as professionals we can't really afford to be off market.
Yeah, it's always a constant knowing battle. I recently just saw an interview that Paul Oakenfold did. Kind of on one hand, he was talking about um, the rise of basically the barrier to entry of DJ and production has completely, I'm sure you've seen, being starting in the late 80s, early 90s, and production, the barrier, you had to get a bunch of gear, or you had to get records, you had to get turntables, you had to learn how to use those. And then now everyone's turntables were the same. If you were a DJ, there might be some slippage, you got to you got to be kind of really like almost perfect your talent. Whereas nowadays, and then you only had limited access to music, or you had to buy a $5,000 computer, or the rack mounts back then. Computers weren't even really that big in the 80s. It was all analog, equipment you had to plug in and MIDI and collect all together and all that fun stuff. But now with the barrier to entry being so small, he's like, yeah, you can get in, but also he mentioned to embrace technology was one of his biggest points too. It's here, so embrace it and prepare and look at what's going for the future. Don't get locked off into a single mindset of saying, "Oh, I'm a vinyl DJ," or "Oh, the sync button sucks," or "Oh," and not because you're not going to grow with the rest of the industry. You know?
Yeah, but that's exactly the point I made.
Yeah.
Embrace the technology, and you could even decide that maybe this is not really what you want, and then take a decision, whatever, strategically, where do you want to go. But you need to really know what is there, what its capability, and where's the opportunity or not.
Absolutely. And part of the industry is obviously is producing tracks, making tracks. But when you look at the current state of like releasing those and distributing those, what's the most important thing you think that record labels should be doing? Because after I produce this, after I've created my persona, after I get out there, I need to distribute. And yes, I can self distribute myself if I'm an artist. But if I want to get signed to a label, are record labels, how do you see the adjustment of that being in the industry, and are what they need to be doing, and are they doing a good job with that?
I think the role of a label has dramatically changed, and it depends what is a label. We have to define that. Are you a label because you have playlists on Spotify? Could be, because then you can give people outreach for their music. Or are you a small underground dish label where you print vinyls? That has a completely different function. And I think the expectation on a label should be set on also after you look, what are you looking for, because a label, when they do vinyl, they invest money in you. And back in the days, it was more the attitude: I'm an artist, I have some great tracks. The label wants me, needs me to make money, and I think it's vice versa right now. Because if you're like already a renowned artist, then it's definitely still the game. Yeah, if you're Paul Oakenfold or whoever, you have your audience. That's what I said. If you have your audience, then the label is actually again, okay, wow, I need this artist because they have outreach. So that's always the game. Does the label have the huge outreach? Why would the label sign me? Because there is not really the hit anymore, right? The hit is defined by, first you need to have outreach. It can go viral or whatsoever. It can become a hit, but first you need to have that audience. And um, I think it has to be in a balance, and you have to see what is your position? So, are you a newcomer and you have solid productions? Maybe you need to invest into a label that they give you their outreach because they cannot sell anything if you have zero audience. They give it to you. So maybe you would even pay money for that. And I think people would go crazy like, wow, why should I pay money? Yeah, because this label invested money in their audience and their outreach, and you want to use it to become like by yourself,
Mhm.
bigger by name and so further. So you need to really be honest to yourself and judge that, and that has to do with the expectation that you have towards a label. So very hands-on. If you have like tracks produced and you want anyone to release them, you need to um, uh, invest the time to research a label that fits to you. And labels expect that. I have a label, Klinklong Records, since I don't know 25 years. And if people just send me demos without any personal um, address to hey Martin or hey Klinklong, I checked your music, that I see they invested the time really to research and took the time to check if they fit. I don't even listen to it because they expect me to spend my time into someone who did music, but they even didn't do that. And time is one of the it's the most precious thing we have, right? And so, if you are a newcomer and you think that your music is good, you should think also of a package that you provide you as an artist. How does your profiles look? Your social media? Do you invest enough time in that? Because someone will sign you maybe and take the risk in giving you their outreach if they see potential that you grow together somewhere and you are very active in that. And that changed also that back in those days when I was more successful or active in the business, it was the production combined with the label that gave you outreach. That was like the logic that you get, like your shows. Now it's more like, okay, will you sell tickets because you have a following and audience? And if you were able to build that, then the music is just another marketing layer that you can do it, but that is not the main thing anymore. Exceptions are like small certain niches in music, yeah. And I think this is something we need to really think through, because what usually when you're young, I did the same, of course. You think, okay, what are the 10 best labels everyone plays out if you talk about DJ music now? And I would say like, oh wow, I want to get signed by these 10 labels because then I'm big. But these labels will not sign you if you have nothing to provide. So
Mhm.
maybe you adjust your expectations and you go to smaller labels and say, wow, I grow with this label and together we can build something. And that's the one part of the answer. And the other part is, of course, that today, if you have playlists built up, if you have your marketing channels, then this is something that you as label can provide. But then again, you think really well who you give it to and what how can you have a return and grow it by yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you can really be a startup of one
Mm.
now, and really get your stuff out there. And yeah, if I heard somebody say also, don't try to match what the top. This has been kind of a recurring thing. Don't try to match what the Beatport top is right now, because at the time you produce something, get it out there, it's going to be gone to the next genre. It's going to be, or produce what you want to produce and find that niche, and go after
Absolutely.
those people and circle yourself around those people, because that'll help you grow rather than just trying to produce what you think everyone wants.
It's true. And in the same moment, even if you had the music in the right time, how do you get it to an audience? It's impossible by the amount of music to find something if you don't have a name, an audience, or just any reason. Why would you find the pearls in all that tons of music that is released? And that's the disadvantage or the downside of the liberality of everyone can release. That's the good thing is everyone can release music. The downside is it's getting harder to get heard. And that is something that changed in the past 10, 15 years dramatically. It's one of the reasons why I'm not so excited anymore about um, uh, having a professional career as a DJ, because I know the logic is a different one. That I'm not, I don't enjoy promoting myself on social media, which is something other people do enjoy. So they make a way better job than myself, and they make it to the shows. So that's like an active decision. But good thing is, of course, most young people are good in that and they're aware of that. But I just want to really give that as a message that this game is not the game anymore. You produce music and you make it just through music. It's actually nearly impossible.
Yeah. If you could go back knowing what you know now and be your younger self, go back in time 40 years or go 50 years in the future, knowing what you know now, which way would you go on the timeline?
Oof.
In music, I guess relating
The
to
honest
music,
answer
I guess I
is,
should preface that with
I,
in regards to music production, which way would you go in the timeline?
I can't go in the future because I have no clue what it does look like. And if I personally would really enjoy investing these 10,000s of hours, really, that is something why I changed what I did. Yeah, because I started not to enjoy what I did mainly. I love DJing for my life. Really. I still do it. Not so much, but I do it and love it. I love production. I don't like social media by myself. I don't enjoy it. Okay. So in 50 years, I have no clue how the logic of the market is. But 50 years back, I wasn't there 50 years back in music. I'm 55 years, so I was 5 years. If you ask me, do I want to go back in a time I was? No, but I enjoyed it a lot. I'm just always I'm looking forward. I live in the present, but I'm looking forward. But I try to actively decide where I go. So I cannot really answer the question how you answer because I would say neither nor. Absolutely not. Because in the future, I don't know what to expect. In the past, I had it and I loved it, but I never will look back and say, "Oh, it was so good." I always try to enjoy the now, and I do it absolutely.
You know, if I were to go back in time with the knowledge I know now about everything I've done, I don't know if I would change anything. I mean, there might be some things I would maybe accelerate, but I would be in a completely different place. I'd be in a completely. I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd be having this conversation with you if I went back all the way to my beginning roots of 30 years ago of starting of picking up a camera and the goal of going to school to get a degree to learn how to run a production company. And if something would have sparked then, would I have been in the broadcast television world? Would I have adapted into podcasting? Would I have adapted into live streaming? Would have been a natural flow like I felt it has become over the years? Or was I jumping to the next, seeing the next biggest thing for the future and looking 10 years down the road? Which kind of got me, that's how it got me into live streaming in 2009. I was at Winter Music Conference 2009, and somebody said, what if we took a DJ and streamed them live over the internet? And I went, what? No, nobody's going to want to watch a DJ live over the internet, until I did one of my first productions of doing a live stream. And the easiest portion of the show to do was streaming a DJ live. And I said, I'm on to something here. And people for years thought I was crazy because they would say that. First, they'd say, why would anyone want to watch a DJ live online? And then two, what's Twitch? People didn't even know about Twitch at the time until Pandy hit in 2020, and everybody in the world jumped online and said, "Oh wow, we can do this now." I always try to stay ahead in the future, looking
I
forward
mean,
and what can come.
it's a different question. If you would have asked me, what would you have done with the knowledge now to become more successful? I dare have a definite answer because with the knowledge now, 15 years ago, I would have started 3 playlists on Spotify, and today they had 500,000 listeners. And this is actually the label, for sure. And this is something that you can try to predict if technology changes. We have a big shift in AI. What is the opportunity right now? And that's exactly the point. What is the opportunity right now? How will it maybe change the market? And how can I find my spot? That is the same what you said, right? If you would have known early enough to build your audience, you start early because I missed one trend. I remember I had 100,000 fans, followers on MySpace. Yeah. MySpace is one of the first socials for the younger guys on you. And one day a new thing came up. That was called Facebook. I said, I don't need it. I have MySpace. Why would I need Facebook? Yeah, okay. That was a big mistake because if I would start it early to shift my 100,000 followers of MySpace to Facebook from day one, I think I would have ended up with 500,000 followers. But then I was late to the party and I also just made it to 100K followers on Facebook. But then Facebook was not the thing anymore, and so further. So this is something, of course, looking back, there is moments if you had the knowledge, yeah, you know how to make better your business.
It's funny you mentioned that exact same thing happened to us when we looked at YouTube in 2005. We were a broadcast television show, and we're like, this is YouTube. And in that time, YouTube was the thing of what I see TikTok being now, of just people looking at the camera, this, short videos. You couldn't go longer than 15 minutes at that time on YouTube. So we looked at it and saying, oh, something like Netflix or Hulu is going to come out and we're a broadcast approved show. So we want to go there and sell our series there. And that never really happened until later on. But podcasting, video podcasting came out with Apple releasing the video iPod, and we found our calling there. Being placed in the front of the iTunes Music Store helped a little bit too in the video podcast section, which garnished this, getting us up to like 300,000 downloads a week. We were just completely bamboozled. We were like, whoa, this is crazy, seeing that happen. But now I'm a little bit more responsive when a new technology comes out because you don't know what's going to
And,
happen. But
and I learned from disruption in music one thing. I saw twice the whole music industry completely changing with huge disruption, people going out of job, and it was always the same reflection. Yeah, I was one, as I said, I'm very open to new technologies. I was one of the first people who did mastering with a software called Triple Dat. That was the first software where you had on the computer you could edit tracks. Before, you had analog gear on that. People can't imagine that right now anymore. And then when for sure, and when I started, it was in the beginning of the 90s. When I started to work with that, the professionals from the old days said, this is like a joke. It's not professional. Doesn't sound like well. It will go away. Blah 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 blah. Okay, we all know what happened. Yeah, MP3 came, Spotify came, whole industry shifted, and I realized the thing looking into software development. I said already a couple of years ago, I come from music industry. I see AI becoming better in software programming. You will see it will replace all the software developers. People laughed at me. I said, look, that's the same same reflex as I heard from music industry, from the guys. And you can see today a full stack software developer right now. If you would have, if you look in their salaries, a full stack developer was 6 to 12 months ago, 80 to 120,000 per year. They went down to 50 right now already. And my son, one of my older sons, he's 24 now. He started 3 years ago, exactly going into software development with AI and all these platforms like Lovable and Tool. Today, he works super successfully as an agency for clients, and people are not laughing anymore because he's now an expert in developing software products with the help of AI tools. And this is something that I learned from my personal past, and I can try to predict, but not always right, but if you really have your eyes open, technology is coming, what can they do? And you can find your opportunities there.
absolutely, no, I definitely have. I've dabbled and I'm taking some AI classes myself just so I have a base understanding of it. Where I think it was I think China or Japan is now teaching kids. They've put in a mandate that they're teaching kids at the age of 6 to start using AI, just at the basics, at the basic
That
levels.
makes sense. It makes sense.
And by the time they graduate, or it would be the high school equivalency, or graduating or going into college over there, they're going to have a total understanding of using this as a familiar process. I mean, if you could go back and say, hey, here's Google, here's the internet, here's a computer, to somebody at 6 years old back in the mid 90s before the .com, or right around the .com came, you're going to have these kids being hyper intelligent or comfortable using this technology. And that AI world, as your son knows, just spending time in it, getting a job, that is future stuff that I think should be taught at an early age, and not.
You're so right. Especially we in Germany, not good at that because our school system is really old in a way. It has its pro sides, but the really downside is not flexible, easy. Like I was just in India for a week as part of a political delegation, and we visited a lot of universities and academia and so further. And I asked one principal of one of the leading technical universities. I said, how do you deal with AI and software development? Because you teach your people also coding and stuff. And he said, that's not a problem for us. We can change our system within 6 months time. So whoa, it takes Germany, I don't know, 20 years to change anything in the curriculum, And this is, we're flexible. We react on that. Okay, wow, that's the difference.
Yeah, the interesting thing would be to see how that integrates into a country's infrastructure through education, but also, watching what's been happening online a little bit with some AI models out there spitting out the wrong information, or being able to be tweaked so that they can provide certain information and exclude other information, who would be in control? I don't know if there. I mean, ChatGPT is one that I use, but there's so many other systems out there. But is there going to be a free, open kind of Wikipedia version that is user watchdogged to make sure that something doesn't get perverted with
Yeah,
it?
but,
I
but
mean,
that was the original idea with OpenAI. That was
mhm.
why Elon Musk got in fight with Sam Altman. Yeah, I don't know if you know the story. Yeah, OpenAI, the main idea was to have an AI where people out there can see the danger and the risks of AI, and on the other hand, you have AI that helps fighting exactly what you say, like maybe potential other not well trained or bad AIs, and they went too early public and with bad training data from real life, and that was actually that. So maybe only AI can save us from AI. It's actually what I believe, to be honest. You're laughing. I think well, let's not go there right now, but that is like a heavy topic, you know.
Well, I was gonna say it kind of I was gonna. Are we pitching a movie script right now or something? But that kind of did already happen in a little bit. I mean, it's been out there, but I remember the Marvel movie when they had was it Marvel the Avenger? No, no, come on, not in game. Come on, Darren, you should know this. I'm a huge fan. It's the one where
I
Jarvis
I
gets
can't
take
help you
over.
on Marvel.
What?
I cannot help you on Marvel.
No
I'm not.
worries, no worries. Basically, the two AIs kind of combat each other. I can't. Why am I not thinking of that one? It's the one where Jarvis comes to the. Oh, anyways, my whole thing is, yeah, is there? I'm glad there is some watchdog organizations out there making sure that it's out there, but it's going to be interesting to see. But you're right. Hopefully, these education systems can adjust quickly because there's no more learning about HTML and coding and programming. That it's, but you still have some schools out there that are teaching that ancient, archaic, outdated, saying this is our program and we're invested in this infrastructure to do that. It's very, very interesting. Speaking of sitting in front of a computer though, and getting back to music production, you being a music producer for so long and working with a number of people, it stands synonymous with sitting in front of a computer like you're at in your studio, creating beats and creating songs, creating tracks. What do you do to stay fit? Like, what gets you up and out of the chair to take your break, or any models or methods of in advice you could give to other producers out there to say, hey, don't sit in the chair for 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours a day. Get up and do something. Do you have a routine or anything that you do or try to maintain a healthy balance of sitting in the chair and out of the chair?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of sports. Hopefully, you see it, right? I go running a lot. I run 200 kilometers per month, so it's 4 times a week. So I usually do never below 11, sometimes 15 or 20. I am very careful with my nutrition because when you grow older, I think after, let's say, 30, it starts in the 20s that you cannot eat what you want anymore because you used to eat like all the burgers and all that shit that tastes very, very well. But when the more you get like in this age I am, it's you can see it, and you need to really take care of your nutrition. Yeah, sometimes you can do this stuff, but usually I plan my food. I have always my stuff with me, which is maybe some bananas, some nuts, whatever. Try to eat really clean, healthy. Eat my eggs in the morning, and yeah, be in a good balance. Do nearly every day some big workout with my body. I invest every day like 15 minutes in some exercises, some push-ups, some lunges and stuff like that. Do my running, and I think that is it. And but it's super important, and especially when you really sit a lot, you have to do a few exercises for your hips to keep them really well, so you don't have problem in the lower back, and you need to do maybe a plank 2 3 times a week. But you really need, the more you older you get, you need to work out on that, and the nutrition is the main aspect, definitely.
And as far as mental workouts, do you have a mental workout or preparation that you go through, or a routine that you kind of meticulously stay with? I know
It's
me and my to-do lists save my life. If I don't have those and they're not in order, if I don't write my notes down, I'd be all over the place. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's also the running part, because when I run, I listen to podcasts, but then sometimes your thoughts go away, and I think of things through. Maybe I'm having a speech that day or something. And I always have this creative ideas about these things. Um, I have, that's a different thing, to do list. I have them. They're more my structure. They're not really my creative pool, but I have the structure. I have team. I have 20 employees in my other company. Means I have topics with each of these people, and I have my lists what I want to discuss with them. So I'm super structured too. But that was not the point. The point was more like, how can you keep your brain fresh? Always be interested in new stuff. That's why I listen to all these podcasts. I'm checking out tech news. I'm super interested. I have a lot of talks with people, so I'm very open to new stuff. And I think this is maybe the biggest challenge for everyone. Get out of your comfort zone and try to really be open to new things, and then you stay fit in your brain.
Absolutely. One of my little guilty pleasures is when I take a break or when I want to tune out, I just play Candy Crush. Not sponsored by them, by the way, but I just just like I'll just tune out, and I've had it on. I'm like at level 4,500 now or something like that, really high up in there. But it's just like a little mental break of not thinking about any ideas or anything, because nobody sees what we do behind the scenes, Martin. They think we just come up with this, we walk up and here we are today, we've been like this forever. But really, there's a lot of, I've toyed with the idea of just saying, put a camera up in my studio here in my office and let it run 24/7, and people go, wow, he really does work it, gets up at 6:30 in the morning and starts working at
Oh,
7 a.m. and doesn't
hell
stop
yeah,
till
man.
6 o'clock at night, 5-6 days a week sometimes. And
Yeah, but that's being an entrepreneur, right? I mean, I back in the days when I had studio rhythm, I went sleeping in the morning 7. Uh, these days, since many years, I get up even before 5. I try to do that and have my routines and try to make the whole day. I have several companies. That's only possible if you have structure and yeah, like you really don't waste too much time on, I don't know, gaming. I love gaming, but I don't have time for these things.
yeah, I've been an avid video gamer my entire life, and just to now sit down and get into a video, other than playing Candy Crush, I don't have time to sit down and get in these immersive games. I mean, even if I got into Fortnite, or not sponsored by them, but we have our virtual reality nightclub, and it's sometimes hard not to get sucked into just going through that or getting into other worlds and diving into that, or playing a game that lasts sometimes 3 hours. Sometimes I just turn off the Netflix and jump into VR. But it's and I'm excited about the possibilities, what could possibly happen there as well. But that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I mean, mental health, I think, is.
I like a lot YouTube. I have to say, I'm not big on any socials, but YouTube is the one, because I'm looking a lot of documentaries, or I like motorbike riding. It can be also technologies that I'm super interested about, robotics, AI, stuff like that. So this is actually my platform. I don't watch any series anymore, but I use a lot of like that when I'm like want to sleep before, or read a book. Still get back to that lately. Yeah.
And a question we do ask a lot of people here when they are into podcasts and watching shows online through YouTube and stuff. What are the top 3 shows, or even listening to music? What are the top 3 that you frequently go to, that you would say these are my highest ones that I always tune into when I run or when I'm taking a break and want to watch something? Do you have a go-to, or is it just randomly type in a subject and
No, no, I'm heavily listening to podcasts. Actually, I started last week. My first, I've wanted to do this for 10 years. I do a radio show. I hosted a radio show for 25 years on one of the biggest stations here in Germany for electronic dance music. They call it Sunshine Live. So I like this medium to speak with people, what we do now too. And I'm listening really to some podcasts, daily podcasts. Mainly they're political, actually. Yeah, there's German podcasts like Ronsheimer, but then there's the international one from US, Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Sometimes I check out the Joe Rogan show. I really like that too. So I like really guys who interview people from businesses or politics, because super interesting how they did it, what is actually going on politically. I'm heavily involved here in German politics too. But yeah, that's actually mine. Then there's a soccer or football podcast. That's a daily one from the biggest medium here. Um, it's called Stammplatz. I listen every day. It's a 15-minute show, but completely updates about the football teams. I'm following FC Bayern Munich. It's my favorite team. I love soccer. Um, um, I'm looking into Vancouver team now because Thomas Muller got there, right? And interesting. So that's actually my regulars. It's not really about music. It's that's more the feels.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at something. Somebody was there's a topic out there for everyone. I think and if there isn't, start it. Maybe you might become the top person in that category. Is doing something and covering it. That's the beauty about not having to be necessarily regulated. Like when we were FCC, when we were doing broadcast television, we had to be FCC approved. We had to get station manager approval. We had to get all this clearance to put a show on broadcast television just to put it out there. YouTube kind of podcasting, the audio podcasting changed that, and that realm is still very underdeveloped. A lot of people are now bypassing the podcast and going straight to live streaming and doing something there, which on our like ours on the back end, we're doing a live broadcast right now, but this is put on our podcast server and distributed to tons of platforms out
But
there.
I think it's a different medium actually, yeah, because podcasts is totally different to video streaming. Because podcasts you can do just listening there, you know. You can
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of stuff you can do on the side. You can work on your garden, on clean your car, work stuff off like do your text record files, this kind of stuff where you don't need if it's a mechanical work that you do, and that's the difference why, and that's why I really like podcasts because
Mm-hmm.
there's a different focus, and that's why I wouldn't say either or. It's just where to use it because when I run, I cannot watch YouTube. For instance, if you
Exactly.
do cycling, even if on the motorbike, there I listen music. I do phone calls also
Well,
or podcasts.
and that's something. I'm glad you brought that up because not to target or say anything, but seeing the growth of online live streaming come, especially in the music world, especially in the DJ realm, is that when I started, I like to do all the bells and whistles and make the fancy show and look, so people were staring and watching the show the whole time. But I think we've seen now this has become so commonplace now for a DJ to stream live is that you're right. People don't care about the aesthetics of the show anymore because they're listening to the music and watching somebody just stand there. Okay, it's cool. You got some graphics going on behind you. It's nice. Unless I'm participating in the chat room, but even then I'm not watching the video here. I'm watching the chat room and what's being said there. And participate, but you can't do that if you're running down the road or driving a car or working on as a mechanic or fixing something. So again, that aspect, that's what most of my shows are geared to be, something you can watch or something you can listen. Nobody's gonna sit there and go, oh my gosh, what kind of keyboard does Martin have in the background there? I gotta buy one of those right now. I mean, if that happens, cool. Let me know in a chat room or on social media. But I still believe that this is a huge medium that can reach thousands of people, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, as we've seen in the success of the world. So, super excited that you are promoting that over there at Riverside Studios. Again, is there a name for that creative technology hub, or is it just under the Riverside umbrella? Have you specifically named that?
Yeah, we call it the Lab Berlin,
The
but it's
lab.
under the Lab Berlin. It's under the uh, umbrella of Riverside Studios. It's part of our ecosystem, but it has this sub brand.
Awesome. We've talked about a lot. I've gone and I'm super excited to catch back up with you again. It's been too long. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
You should definitely come to Berlin, experience the music and DJ scene. It's very unique globally because clubbing here is not about exclusivity and who pays for the bottles. It's really do you add something to the experience in all those clubs, and that is really a big difference. So you should definitely, if you haven't been here, come here and check out the vibrant club and club culture scene.
I am glad that that is the one thing that came to mind when you brought that up, because I completely forgot to ask a small, minor question. Don't have to go too big into this, but one of the things that I was totally impressed when I went to the club, just right down the street from the studios, because I was in the local area. I can't. It's the one. I think you recommended it to me, and it had a house night of all things going on. It has the little float on the river right by the bridge. Um,
It was
Walking distance.
Watergate. It
What?
was Watergate Club.
I think it is Watergate. Yeah,
It
Watergate. Yeah.
is closed meanwhile. They closed down New Year's Eve this year after, I don't know, 25 years or something.
Ooh. But it
But
was a
there's,
fun.
there's other clubs that opened and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
no, I was talking with. Do you know Robert Owen?
yeah,
Robert
for
Owens.
sure.
Yeah, Robert. I just interviewed him recently, and he said he lives right around the corner from Enhow, and his studios is right next door to yours. And I was like, he's like, come over, we'll go shopping sometime. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, Darren, there's 4 more clubs right down a block from there. There's 2 more clubs over here. There's 2 more clubs here.
But
There's more down
that's
here.
this area actually. Most clubs have been here. It changed now. There are more clubs like Sisyphos and RSO and Heidi Klum. They're more out, but there used to be a lot of clubs here. Berghain is here, Watergate is here, Carter is here. Yeah, you name it. I could, as you said, there's like a lot of clubs in this area.
Well, the one thing I wanted to touch on very briefly was, though, and I loved it. I really loved it, not because I'm some old school head or that I feel that something's been lost, but totally did it and respected it. Is when I went to that club, they took my phone and they put stickers over both cameras, and I was like, "That's so cool." And I wish more nightclubs would adapt that policy. I've been seeing more and more articles come out. There was a club in Ibiza that now says there's no cameras allowed on the dance floor. I know obviously Berghain does it. There's other clubs that do it. But that was the first time I'd ever seen. We threw a party. Some are not we. A party was thrown here in Seattle where it was called No Signal, and they didn't allow phones to go into the clubs. And it went well, but it never caught on as a trend. And I'm wondering if that's going to be a future trend of the establishments putting that rule on, or the performers saying, this isn't my writer. I don't want this happening. If this happens, I'm going to stop the show. Or I know that might be pretty drastic there, but the phones in the clubs are really, they have changed obviously the dynamic of the dance floor, the movement of what's going on. You got people like this who are trying to do this, and other people are trying to have fun, and they're trying to get that perfect selfie video moment that it's going to go online and live up there. What are your, in a nutshell, like a minute or less, what are your thoughts of cell phone use, video use in the nightclubs, I should say in the entertainment, in that aspect?
It is a question of what is the goal of your club. And, these clubs who do it here in Berlin, first they provide a safe space for people who are like minded and want to have a privacy in their experience as their community connected to music and all of that. So that means you go to these clubs and no one really speaks what happens inside because it's this experience. And if you are a big club, usually actually the big shows in Ibiza, which is about the sensation of the show and the artist, that's a different game. And most people don't go for the music culture. They go for a show there. So I don't mind if they film it because they don't go for this experience. But if you provide a club, and this is what I love, where people really come to enjoy the music together, and absolutely the phones are disturbing, but it's not just to use your phones, it's really the privacy aspect why they put the stickers on. That's two different sides of the story. I think it's a great idea to go somewhere and even give your phone somewhere at the cloak room off. That would be even better because that means there is focus on the experience. So that's the answer on it.
Yeah, even back in the day when I first started filming in clubs, I had to use lights for my cameras, and people would say my lights would ruin the aesthetic of the club, or some people didn't want to be seen on camera, or obviously a photography camera, it goes, it flashes, it's one shot, okay, cool. But now as digital technology goes in, those same cameras can do video, and but now you have everyone, like you said, that inclusivity or that private moment that maybe somebody wants to let loose and have fun, and they don't want to showing up on their work page tomorrow or going
Yeah,
viral.
absolutely.
But with everyone doing that in the club like this, nobody's getting permission to do any of that, and they're putting those up, and it's like, maybe that's my old school thing. I love seeing people use technology to advance stuff to do it. I'm not saying, oh, now that everyone does it in the club, I don't have a show anymore. I'm like, no, it's cool. But I really respected it, though. They were really nice. They were really polite about it. And I didn't feel it was intrusive into anything because I could still text. I could still do everything I wanted to do. I just
Yeah,
couldn't.
absolutely. That's why I said it's not about not using your phone. It's about the
Yeah.
privacy of the other people. You can meet in Berlin clubs highest politicians and economic leaders. Like for real, I've been by myself with the governing mayor, all these people there, and they do it because they really know that people you will not find in the yellow press any photo, anything, because really people respect that these people are equal in their experience in being with the music, being this tribe, and this is what Berlin clubbing it makes so special and so unique. And I know a lot of clubs start to copy that. Hey, we put the sticker on your phone somewhere in the world. I would say not all of them, but some of them maybe don't even know by themselves what is really the reason. Because on the other hand, they don't curate well because they make like you have like the biggest paycheck in your hand and you can enter because they remember this guy bought 5 bottles last week. That's how Ibiza works, right? And all these clubs. So, but in Berlin, you could do that. People will not let you in if they feel that you just want to put the money on you get in. They want to still check and get a feeling. Do you come for this music culture? Do you want to add on the experience for everyone because you're like part of the whole happening or not? And this is the big difference here.
Yeah, it definitely is a club culture that I want to experience more of. We'll talk about that after the show, but I know you're a busy guy. I gotta let you get going. I gotta get going. Where is the best place people can find out all the information about Riverside? Where's the best place to send them to?
Yeah, you can go on our website, of course. It's riversidestudios.de. Thanks for that, Darren. We have our socials. You find on, of course, us on Instagram. You can soon check out the lab. I think the website is thelab.berlin. That's the website. I think it's live next 2 3 weeks. And yeah, that's actually it.
We didn't get a chance to touch on NLND. What's that all about?
That's a totally different project I'm
Another
developing.
interview.
It's we develop on 150,000 square meters, former largest cigarette factory in Europe, into a innovation district where we have prototyping halls, laboratories. We have a conference center for 10,000 people there. We have sports fields. We have a university campus there. So it's really totally a different story. And that website is nlnd.com. That's the name of that project. So that is really a different story. So you can fill 2 shows with that.
Wow, I didn't know. Now I feel bad we didn't get to talk a little bit about that, but that'll be another time, another interview as well. Look forward to having you back on the show here in the future. Martin, thank you again for coming back on the show today.
Thanks a lot, Darren. I'm always on if you call me, and it's always a nice talk and chat with you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to doing that. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us there and all of our social media information, all of our news stories, all of our past interviews, exclusive mixes, our new music section. Super excited about launching that one. You can find out our VR nightclub, our mobile app, and more at thedjsessions.com. I'm your host, Darren, coming to you from Seattle, Washington. That's Martin Eyerer coming in from Berlin, Germany at Riverside Studios. And remember, on the DJ sessions, the music never stops.